Good afternoon, everybody. Today I am being guided to talk about the infamous law of attraction. Does it really exist? What do you do about it? If it does, could we really be that powerful? It's a term that's been around for a long time, the law of attraction, but it's like a lot of sort of new age terms. It gets a bad rap because people say, well, we just don't really understand it, or it doesn't really work, or it's not possible I could actually be creating my own reality, or geez, what if I am that powerful? What does that really mean? Am I really creating the mess that I'm in? Is that possible? And then, of course, those who don't understand it say, oh, it's just some other new age thing, where if you just make yourself feel good all the time, think happy thoughts, and happy things will come. And although at the very core that is the truth, the process is much, much more challenging at times. There's more to understand, because often at the times we start with our brain. We start with thinking logically who we are and what we've been taught. We go from that perspective, and the idea that we can be attracting through thought just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't fit into a third dimensional parameter or perspective. It's like, well, I got to be moving stuff around. I've got to be taking action. I've got to push myself through stuff, instead of just taking inspired thoughts and acting on that, and knowing that there's this universe working for us on our behalf. You really got to prove it to yourself. So my short answer to this is that, I've proved to myself over and over again that there is truly a law of attraction, although it's a little bit deeper than just attraction. There's more mechanism going on there. It's really a law of creation, because creation is perception, if you think about it. We live our life through the five senses. But they're just electrical signals going into the brain, and the brain interprets those electrical signals based on what it's been taught and what we've experienced in the physical reality. So you think about that. That's our whole perception, not including the sixth sense, which is who we really are. Think about that. Your whole life, what you believe is true, has come largely through those five electrical signals going into this brain, which has been largely pre-programmed by other people earlier in life. Parents and school, government, religions, all have an influence. What we watch on the news shapes the filters in the brain as to how to interpret those things we're seeing or feeling or noticing in our lives. And so we can get pretty sort of warped out of what is true reality for us by paying attention a lot to those sensors. And as we do that, the brain gets louder as we grow up, and more dominant and lower in frequency as a result. It's inherent in thinking physically that we tune away from flow, which is a guidance, the stream of thoughts from higher consciousness. And that creates a gap. So to find our way back, then we've got to start closing that gap between who we really are, which is infinite intelligence, which is pure loving consciousness and pure guidance, and versus what we've been taught. So that's the journey to find your way back to understanding that you are that powerful, understanding that this law of attraction, which is just really a law of physics, law of vibration. It just says what I'm vibrating and sending out gets reflected back in my experience. It's really that simple, but it does take some effort. One of the things that I was told in a client channeling session a while back, because I've been pursuing the idea of reaching more people through videos and through workshops and whatever shows up. I don't even know what it's going to look like. But I've had a lot of support through various channeled messages, through clients and through other means. And they said that there will be a lot of new followers. And this is the year for all of us doing this kind of spiritual work. But they'll understand the concepts intellectually, but they might have a hard time implementing them. And I can relate to that. I can intellectually talk about law of attraction, consciousness, vibration, all that stuff all day long, but implementing it in my life, that's where the rubber meets the road, as we like to say. It's like, how do you implement this stuff? How do you actually create the life of your dreams, as opposed to the life you've been living up to this point, which at some level can always be better. And that'll always be true. It will always be potentially better. But enjoying it right now is a great place to start, finding the things you appreciate. So I'm making these videos. I decided to start doing pop-up workshops over Zoom that will be 60 to 90 minutes to take the ideas we talk about here and the ideas of New Age spirituality, law of attraction, and consciousness and so forth, emotional guidance, and put them into practice. I did my first pop-up workshop, again, through inspiration of this same process, I don't know, 3 weeks ago or something, a month ago. And we did it on how to connect into the guidance that we have. How do you tune into those guides? How do you quiet your mind and allow that stream to come through? And it was actually really, really well received. Some people actually connected to several past loved ones and got closure on something, which was, I didn't even expect it to open up that much. But that's part of the same process. Law of attraction is just the mechanism which brings to us the things that we're opening up to, that we're on the radio station of. We get to hear the music on the station that we're tuned to. We don't hear the music on some different station from the one we're tuned to. It's always about what we're tuned to, and all consciousness is a frequency. And so by learning how to shift our focus, make space, turn the brain off or turn it way down so that it's not cluttering the signal, and so we can hear the still small voice of God, us, at a higher frequency that flows through. And then you get used to that stream of guidance, and suddenly life just gets a little better, and you start to trust that I don't have to figure it out. I don't have to do the work. So this came to me to do this. The very first one is a practice of connecting in, and it was really, really went well. And so I'm definitely going to do more of the practicing of connection ones, but talking about things where we can implement law of attraction concepts, where you can actually go out and figure some stuff out on your own and then practice it and come back maybe in a follow-up group. I don't know how it's going to unfold. I'd certainly love to hear your thoughts in the comments if you want to share what would be beneficial to you, and if it feels in alignment with what I'm doing, I'm happy to offer a workshop. But the idea of being able to expand the understanding across consciousness, across our society, that yes, you're creating your own reality, but no, you're not getting it wrong. And yes, you can get so much better at it, and then all of life gets better as a reflection of the energy that you yourself are putting out. We move from the lower to the higher frequencies, and we'll talk about the emotional scale here in a second. The higher the frequencies that are going out, the higher frequencies that come back. And so the things that are frustrating you let go of the frustration, and suddenly the things that are frustrating you will go away as well. And it applies on all levels of the emotional scale in that respect. So everything in law of attraction is about tuning in, and tuning in just means making space so you can feel that connection, so you can feel the flow starting to show up. There's a lot of techniques around this, and a lot of the work I do as an intuitive coach is helping clients to address fears and blocks and resistance and worries and so forth that they know are in the way of them doing this. But you don't need me to do that. You can do this on your own. It's just a matter of starting to understand what's happening. You don't even have to dig in and say, oh, well, what is bothering me? You don't, unless it's right front and center, you don't even have to do that. Going and searching for the problem is akin to attracting more problems, because you get what you focus on. So we make space to let the problem be there, whatever the fear is, and it'll be an emotion that you'll notice first if you're tuned enough. Sometimes we're not tuned and we can't feel the emotion. So what I suggest to people is start noticing what's showing up in your life and how that makes you feel. Look around. Okay? If you have something that catches your attention, maybe somebody says something, maybe you don't like what they said, maybe you do like what they said. How did it make you feel? Look on the emotional scale. Was it positive? Did it make you feel hopeful, feel loved? Did it make you feel frustrated or angry? If that's how it made you feel, that's how you were feeling before you attracted it. Because yes, you attracted the comment. Yes, you attracted the experience. Yes, you attracted everything. Because everything is a big mirror around you. The universe is just a vibrational mirror. Doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong if you get a negative experience. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong if you got a disease in your body, or if you lost your job, or a relationship broke up. There's nothing, quote, wrong with those. They just don't feel good. And why don't they feel good? Because we're used to being in that frequency, and we will keep attracting what we focus on. So the key is to break when you notice that you're not feeling good for any reason. It doesn't matter. You might try to justify it and explain it away, but don't do that. I am not feeling good right now. How am I feeling? I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling overwhelmed. You stop in that moment and just honor the feeling. Just take it in. Breathe it in, I like to say. Use the whole body. The emotional sensor is right here. It's the solar plexus. That organ of nerves is what creates emotions. But so many of us are used to stuffing things down, we literally numb our emotions. And that goes through the whole body. So we can use the whole body to tune in. How am I feeling about this thing? You think about it for a moment and let that, if it's a negative feeling, let it in. Let it permeate your body. You may discover a little pain or a little discomfort. That's okay. That's the body's way of telling you, yes, where you're focusing right now is not helping you, and it'll get worse if you keep focusing. So then you can achieve a state of presence, if you can, and just stop thinking. See if you can just let go of the story, let go of the whatever is going on in your mind about that experience. This can be a challenge because law of attraction is going to keep bringing you thoughts. That's what it does. It brings you whatever you focus on. But see if you can disconnect and just come into a state of presence. I like to literally focus right here. I put my gaze softly right here and just feel the thoughts drift away. And then I feel the emotion or the physicality in my body. And then sit with it. Sit with it like it was a small child. Because it is. It's your inner being. It's your inner child who's still got wounds that want to be noticed and felt. And when they are felt and noticed, then they are no longer needed. When you identify a belief or something that's going on in this state of mind, and you give it enough space to be noticed, and that's, like I said, starts with the body, but then it moves into the emotional state. Once it's completely brought in, and you can feel it fully, it takes about 45 seconds. If you're truly not thinking and not trying to deflect it or justify it or defend it, but just be with that feeling and it'll soften. And suddenly you'll notice the discomfort's gone. And that layer now has been released because you received the message that was behind it. It's really not more complicated than that, but so many of us won't take the time to make the space to allow that to happen. And it's really what it takes. Because the brain will think all day long. It's designed to think, but it's not designed to be taxed with all the decisions that we're making. It was designed to just basically get us around in physicality, but not make decisions. Decisions are available through the broader consciousness, through this flow state. So we want to stop dumping our worries into the brain and have it figure it out. We want to instead make space so it gets a rest and we can hear our own stream of guidance coming through. Okay, and there's lots of ways to do that. That's really where the work is. As they say, thinking the positive thought will attract the positive thing. But it's getting to where you will allow yourself the space to think the positive thought, or just no thought is better, because in no thought you will float up to the positive energy by definition. Because who we are is that high frequency. So it's really about just getting out of your own way. And there's a million ways to do that. You can use, of course, meditation is number one by anybody's book. And if you have a hard time meditating, sometimes getting guided meditations can be helpful. We do them in our Lightworker Exchange group every Thursday evening. You can join the Facebook group if you want. And that lasts about 10-15 minutes, and that helps you relax. But you can practice this on your own. Breathing is really, really important. Just taking the time, 3 deep breaths. Feeling any negative energy at all, just close your eyes. Breathe that air all the way down into the body. Breathe it back out again. Back in again. Sometimes I hold it. And then back out again. And then a third time. And out. About 30 seconds? Now I've suddenly reset my vibration, my energy. The brain softens and relaxes a little bit because we've stopped the momentum. What you're sending out is what you're getting back. So if you stop sending it out, you stop getting it back. Seems pretty obvious, seems pretty easy, but it does take deliberate intent to do this. I suggest, and what I did myself when I was first starting this many years ago, it was suggested to me to put a timer on my phone and every so often do a check-in. How are you feeling? How are you feeling? How are you feeling? I used to have it once an hour, which I started to tune out, so I made it like first thing in the morning, tune in. And now I do a guided meditation, or I listen to some background sounds, nature sounds, music. It depends on what I'm in the mood for. Let's see if I can get into that state of complete stillness and quiet. It just takes practice, because we practice the other, the noisiness, the busyness, the need to get it done, the need to be worthy, to justify our experience. That is so prevalent that it really takes a deliberate energy to counteract that momentum that's in play. It's like if you're riding the bike really hard in one direction and it's not the direction you want to go in, you got to put the brakes on. So you got to stop your own momentum, but it doesn't take much. Like I said, it's just stopping the thought process, which keeps us perpetuated in that direction. And every night, when you fall asleep, you stop the momentum anyway. But usually when we wake back up, we start thinking about what we thought about last night, or something that's prevalent on our minds. We go back to the vibration that we were in, where we left it. And so that's why doing a meditation or breathing exercise or yoga or something that just starts the mind in a quiet place first thing in the morning, then the channel is open. Now we get a taste of that beautiful, good feeling guidance. We get that impulse to do something, and ooh, that worked out, and oh, that felt really good, and ooh, I got another impulse. I went and called that person. Wow, we had a great conversation, and oh man, right after that I went and had a great meal, and man, it's the best meal I've had in a long time. Because we're being deliberate about focusing there and not judging the steps, not finding the negative side of it. That's all it is. It's just practice, 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 and more practice. And being aware of what's happening. So if you can't tell how you feel, which again, for me, it's years of numbing the emotions and having bad things show up and being frustrated or angry about them, and then putting that energy out there and then more things showing up. Breaking that and then shifting the focus intentionally. What is the benefit behind the negative thing? There's always one that's created. They happen at the same time. Believe it or not, when you have an experience that's unwanted, the wanted was created in that moment, vibrationally. And it's simply your human focus on the unwanted part that keeps you from receiving the wanted thing that you created in the process. It's perception. It's vibration. It's tuning. You're creating with every awareness moment, and the universe expands, your inner being expands, your vortex, as Abraham calls it, the energetic creations expand every time you have an awareness about anything, particularly the things you don't want. In those moments, what you wanted is created, and if you can just let go of the negative focus for a little while, then what's wanted has to show up, because your own inner being is already focused on all the things you want and sucking them towards you all the time. So why don't they show up? Why isn't everything I want here? Well, it's because you're not opening the door to where they are. And you open the door by quieting the mind and just allowing the tuning to happen, the frequencies, the energies to flow in very naturally. So it doesn't have to be hard, but it does take diligence. You got to want it, and everybody wants to feel better, but you got to want it more than you want to be in the safety of your story, of your comfort zone, of the identity. Really, it's the identity of who we are that we've created over time. Who would you be if you weren't your identity right now? Who would you be if you weren't the victim who never got what they want, who's never loved, who never can make a difference? Who would you be? Who would you be if you had to let go of that identity? Well, it's scary. That's the unknown. The human says, but then what will people think if I stepped out of this? What if they realize I'm not a victim? All these things come up. It's all brain-based things that we've learned. Time to let that go. Just step into the new reality. Just step in that direction. And notice that as you do, law of attraction, instead of attracting people who are at your lower frequency, who keep reinforcing the powerlessness and the fear that they see going on, instead what happens is as you move yourself up and your average vibration raises, they either will be influenced up, not your responsibility. You have no control over what anybody else attracts, period. But if they don't, law of attraction has to pull them out, because vibrationally they're not on your radio station anymore. They can't perceive you and you can't perceive them in those moments. So your only job is to allow your frequency to raise and keep doing the work on yourself as you can. There's no top, so it's not like a race. You don't have to rush up there and get aligned because there is no top. What happens is every time we make new awarenesses and we close our own gap and we feel good, we're now at a new plateau, and we can now see things that we didn't know that we wanted, that we don't have. And so the gap will be created again. And then our journey is to, as joyfully as we can, close the gap, allow it to happen, and then the manifestation occurs, and guess what? We got a new platform again to see on. Oh, there's something else over there I didn't know I could have. Boom, another gap. So this is the journey of expansion of the entire universe. So you can't get it wrong. There's no destination. You're never done with it. You'll leave this body at some point, but you'll be back in another body because your higher self, your soul, inner being, spirit, is here for the journey. It's for the expansion. Let's see if we can figure this out. Let's dive into something really negative, really, really, really harsh, and see if we can climb that mountain and get out of the darkness and have the awareness. If you're watching this video, you're one of those people who's climbing out. Congratulations. Pat yourself on the back. Good job. You got this far. You've been through your negative stuff, and all of you have, because you wouldn't be here if you hadn't. And now you're starting to see your own light. So let's just keep it going. Again, you can't get it wrong, so be easy on yourself. Just relax a little bit into it. One of the things I often get stuck in is I have an awareness of, here's something I want to do, like create workshops, for instance. I haven't done workshops in a long time. My wife and I used to do them years ago in our living room, and then sometimes we'd rent out places. And those are always fun, but then they got boring in that format. And now they're starting to come back. It's a new way for me to express myself. But then as soon as I did the first one, my brain kicks in, my fearful, lack-based brain said, oh, you got to figure out how to do the next one, Kevin. You better get going. You don't want to lose the audience you've got. You got blah, 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 blah. Just shut up. And literally, sometimes I just say that out loud. Shut up. Just stop thinking. Sometimes I got to say it multiple times. But eventually then I get my awareness back. I become the observer of what's going on instead of in the vibrational story. And as soon as you can pull back and become the observer of the thoughts that are going by, you've now moved into the level of your own inner being. You've now tuned into that higher frequency. As soon as you can start watching what's going on, now you can make a choice. Oh, I'm going to change now. I'm going to just stop thinking about that thing. I'm going to think about something else. I'm going to find anything I know that'll make me feel a little bit better right now. Maybe I'll put on some music. Maybe that feels good. Maybe I'll go get something nice to eat. Maybe I'll just step outside and take a deep breath of fresh air and listen to the sounds of nature, observe the experience, because I deserve it. You got to convince yourself you deserve it. Do you believe you do? Do you believe you deserve to have everything that you want? You do. It's a trick question. But you got to accept that. And it took me a long time as well to do that. The idea of self-love, the idea of self-acceptance, those were foreign. It was all about self-hatred, not ever being good enough. Lots of that. And even still little threads of it are show up at times, things that I haven't yet let come to the surface. And they'll come up in time. I'm not in a hurry to get rid of them. I know they'll show themselves when I'm ready for them to be released, and I'm okay where I'm at and getting better all the time. So I hope that's helpful. Notice the emotions first. If you can't notice the emotions, notice what's showing up. Just literally anything. Anything that's got your attention, there will be an emotion behind it. Notice the emotion. That's the emotion you've been having because of the thoughts you've been thinking that led up to that point of that thing being attracted. And then now you got a closed loop system. Now you can start to pay attention to how you've been focusing and the perception you have on something, and now you can shift it. I always suggest pulling back. The meditative experience, quieting the mind, is where it starts. It can't be any other way because that's basically how it works. But you can do it. Everybody can do it. Everybody who's here has the ability to do this, or we wouldn't be here. The point of the journey is the evolution, is the expansion. So none of us showed up here into an experience that we couldn't move through. We all have that ability, and you do too. So give yourself credit, first of all, for being here, and then give yourself permission to step out of the identity that you've created, your brain has created for you, and create a new identity. Who do you want to be? What do you want to look like? How do you want to feel? What do you want to manifest in your experience? You can have it all. Let's take it little at a time, little things that you can believe, and kind of move forward from that. I do recommend doing this first thing in the morning just because, like I said before, you wake up, then 15 seconds your brain's going to start. So try to catch that, see if you can get into that quiet stillness right off the bat, and just see how the day goes, see if it worked for you. You can do it at night as well before you go to sleep. That's another time when there's a lot of benefit in the momentum. And then the last little technique that I got is to, I call it stop, drop, and flow. I've shared this before. Essentially, when you notice that you're out of alignment for whatever reason, you have negative experiences, just stop what you're doing. Just dead stop. Pull back, unless you're driving, of course. Pull off the road. But then just stop. Drop into your body. Move your attention down into the body and breathe it in there. Just like we did that. Take those breaths. And then flow back into the present moment. Because inevitably, if you're in a negative experience, you're either in the future or in the past. Again, the brain only lives there. The brain doesn't live in the now moment. It only remembers the past, or it focuses on the future. You really don't even have a past in that perspective. It's just what you remembered. And that's the function of this sort of distorted brain. So you can let go of the past and the future and just flow into presence, into the now moment. Give yourself that little break and see if that helps. Then move on with your day. See if things unfold for you. So a few materials. If you're somewhat new to this concept, the law of attraction, hopefully I've given you a little background about it. There's a number of books. Ask and It Is Given by Jerry and Esther Hicks, of course, is the quintessential guide. It's where the emotional scale comes from. It's a purely channeled book, and it's just the most beautiful, positive book with 22 processes, similar to what I shared on different ways of moving up the scale around money, relationships, health, and so forth. Another book is called E Squared by Pam Grout, and there's 9 experiments you can do to actually prove out how you can attract things. Use the law of attraction in real life, like attracting a cup of coffee for free, stuff like that. And she's got a follow-up book called E Cubed, which says more experiments. Of course, YouTube is our friend. Search for Abraham Hicks, or Bashar is another channel, Cryon, Wendy Kennedy. There's a whole bunch of really wonderful channels who talk about this material all the time, how to get tuned, and so forth. You can, of course, watch my YouTube channel. I'm putting these videos up there, and I've got a lot of meditations and other things. Just go to youtube.intuitivecoachkevin.com, and that'll take you right to the channel. What else? Oh, and then the workshops that I was talking about, which I'll be advertising on Facebook and probably through email. So contact me if you want to be on any of those lists or connect with me. Or you can go to intuitiveclassroom.com. And the sign-up sheet will always be there. I don't have any workshops right at the moment, but I can already feel something's going to come here probably in the next week or so. So you can keep an eye on that. But above all, be easy on yourself. Keep practicing, and know that you'll prove this to yourself over time. And hopefully things will start to improve, even just by listening to this. But reach out anytime. I'm here to help. Hope it was helpful for you. I'm happy to hear your thoughts. Please share on this video or wherever this is landed. Right now we're on Facebook, but it's going to go to Instagram and YouTube. I'll look at all the comments. I want to hear what you think about the material presented here, maybe things that you've learned to share, and maybe what you'd like me to talk about or share about in workshops and other videos. If it feels right to me, and if I'm getting guidance like I am today on this topic, I can feel the channeling coming through here, then I'll be happy to do a video on it. So just remember, we're all in it together. We're here to have a good time. Nothing serious is going on. So you can relax and just ease into the flow. We're awakening the world by awakening ourselves, and that's as good as it gets. And it's going to get a whole lot better as we keep moving forward. So thanks again for listening and paying some small amount of your attention to my time here. And I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a wonderful self-empowered day. Thanks again. Bye for now.